Hey nerds, Future Andrew here. Thanks again for coming back to the second half of an episode where I'm talking about board games with Chris. I don't want to delay you too much. If you remember, we were talking a little bit about a lot of the history. This episode, we're going to get more specifically into the future of board games and what we like about current board games and board game mechanics. So, hope you enjoy. As much as people hate on Monopoly, it is pretty simple. Roll the die, move your token to whatever place. If it's unowned, buy it. If you can't buy it, it goes up for auction. And then there's a whole separate set of rules for auction. Okay, then there's all the rules for once you have multiple of a property. But at its core, roll the dice, move around. Roll the dice, move around. A couple little small rules here and there that are kind of as they come up. Let's talk about more complex strategy games. Let's talk about something like Terraforming Mars for a second. Beautiful game. Once you know the rules, that's easy.
Yeah.
It's no problem. And it doesn't take that long to set up once you know how to set up.
Right.
And if you're with a bunch of people who know how to set it up. But if you are bringing me in to play Terraforming Mars for the first time, I'm sitting there and I'm like going through a mini lecture, learning, okay, what is this board? What do these things do? How much is a cube worth? Bronze is 1, silver's 5, gold is 10. Okay. Wait, but how much money does that mean? Oh, this isn't money. This is just a counter. But then what is my objective? And there's just a lot to it. And that's not even that complex.
Yeah.
Compared to the one we played just the other day. How long did that take us to set up? And that was with the guy who owned the game and loves it.
It is his favorite game, and it still took him probably 45 minutes to set it up.
Set it up and explain the basics, and we're sitting there going,
Yeah.
okay. And that was with us who like sport games, being able to see the relationship to other games. I will admit, that is one of the biggest downsides of the hobby of board games.
I 100% agree is that the learning of the rules sometimes seems way more overwhelming than once you actually start playing it, because games, once you're a turn in, you're like, oh, this kind of makes sense. Terraforming Mars, I think the first time that I ever watched a video on how to play it, because that's how you have to do it half the time now.
Yes.
I remember being like that. Like, I think I kind of got it, but I'm not sure I got everything. But the beautiful thing about Terraforming Mars is that it tells you everything that is how to play the game on the card.
Yeah.
If there is a symbol on the card, also written out for you somewhere on that card tells you what that symbol means.
Yep. Terraforming
Mars is a beautiful game as far as teaching, or not really teaching, but like making sure that people know what is going on.
Yeah.
There's, like
It's
I said,
great.
there's no symbol left out there that you're like, I don't know what that symbol means.
No.
Because if you read the bottom of the card, it'll say the sun is energy, you know?
Terraforming Mars, I'll agree. It's one of those that it's so much easier to get into and start playing than it is to just, crack open and everyone understands it, compared to Q's and Q's or
Yeah.
Wavelength or something like that. But that's kind of the whole point of board games, is there are so many different types, so many different things out there, that I think a next good thing that you and I could discuss for a moment are some of the core mechanics we see repeated across board games.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave party games out for now, because party games have so many different things that they do that the intention is just keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it lighthearted. Codenames is another good one. But what do you classify Codenames mechanics? Cards, picture recognition, word association, wavelengths,
It's
kind of the same, but argumentative, hues and cues, word association.
It's a lot of, but you kind of have to do that with party
do.
games. You got to have word association.
Yes.
Like, there's another game that we'll pull out every now and then called Dixit, which is kind of similar, but it's like everyone has a hand of cards, but the hand of cards is artwork. Mm-hmm. And you get to say one word of a card that you put down, and everyone puts down a card that they think is closest to that. And then you flip them all over, and at the end, people have to vote and guess who the original card was. Okay. So it's kind of the same as like Codenames and other things, but like that's what you need with group games. Like you said,
Yes.
like a lot of them end up having very similar mechanics because, like we said, it's got to be something that's quick to teach. It's got to be something that you can just pull out and immediately play.
Yes, exactly. So, that being said, what's one of the most common mechanics you see today in board games?
Ooh, common mechanics I see in board games. Probably because of the ones that I'm playing, it's deck builders all the time. But
Define deck builder.
so a deck builder is where you start out with a base deck of 10 cards, and they are all pretty average. They are not great cards. You would rather not have them, but it's what you start out with. You flip over 5 cards each turn. Those 5 cards allow you to either purchase something from a store, fight a monster of some sort, something like that. And then, depending on how you play that turn, you get bonus cards, goes to your discard. The next time you shuffle your deck, well, now your deck has 12 cards in it.
Right.
And your deck is stronger because you got a special piece of equipment, or you defeated some kind of monster that gave you a buff, things like that.
Yep.
I think, like, first of all, like I said, that's just in general my favorite type of game. I love deck builders. It scratches like the TCG itch for me. It scratches a board game itch. It does everything. But also, like, you see that mechanic in a lot of things, because even talking about terraforming Mars, like, it's not a true deck builder. You're not spending the entire time just like fighting something to get, or not even fighting, just doing something with your hand of cards to make them stronger.
Yep.
You are playing a hand of cards. Then at the end of the round, I think you get to draft like
Up to 4.
Up to four.
Up to 4.
But any cards you want to keep, you have to pay for. So
Yes.
you've got to have the money to pay for them. So, like, you are building your deck and making it stronger, but at the same time, it's not the same quite mechanic as a deck builder. You are
Right.
just like trying to make a deck that is optimized for your win strategy.
Yep.
So other mechanics you're going to see a lot. Let's see, a lot of unit placement. That's, I mean, we play a
huge.
lot more like city builders,
Yeah.
unit placement, a little bit of dice rolling, a lot of things that we see, but you start getting even into kind of more unique things that like we kind of mentioned earlier. There's a game called Arcs that the way that you generate resources is by playing a trick-taking game first. So the entire table goes through a round of a trick-taking game. Whoever wins the trick gets priority, and then based off that, they get to pick cards.
Right.
So that is a very unique thing, as far as I know, that like this is a strategy game where you are building spaceships. You are trying to overtake the galaxy, but your resource generation is trick-taking.
Yep.
That, as far as I know, they're the first ones that kind of did that. Maybe there's another game out there, but I mean, it's,
Well,
you know,
should we just go to Caverns and Forest and spend time going through all 500 of his games and
We
seeing
could
if
try,
find
but-
another one?
people. I mean, it's the game people are talking about right now. They absolutely love it.
It's because it's new. It's exciting. And like you said, assuming that it is the first to do the trick-taking portion, okay, well, if it's the first to do that, that's something people are going to gravitate towards, which I kind of think is how we're going to see games change in the future. And we'll get more into the future of games in a moment, but, you know, one of the other core mechanics that I think of is resource management as a whole.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways to do the resource management. Mentioning Terraforming Mars again, you've got your little player mat that has your collected resources on it. But there's not just that, you also have a resource engine, which is a separate mechanic that a lot of people talk about, which is how am I generating extra of these resources. In Terraforming Mars, one of the big ways to win the game is to have the most of the plants or greenery tiles on the board. Okay, well, in order to do that, you need to generate as many plants as possible and translate those plant resources into a greenery. Okay, in order to do that, you need to increase your production rate of greenery. So you commonly see people trying to gravitate towards that at mid to late game of let me increase my production so that I can have those plants to be able to get those in-game resources. So it's not just managing your resources, it's managing how to get those resources, which are two mechanics that I gravitate towards because it always makes me sit there and think, okay, if my end goal is this, it's Z, what steps do I need to take so that at points W, X, and Y, I'm right there? So that when I get to Z, everything's good. Well, it all starts back at step A
Yeah.
of figuring out how to get all the way down the road and every little decision I'm making. And I typically come away from those engine building games just theory crafting immediately. Like, okay, well, what could I have done better? What was it that Chris did in this game that helped him so well? How would that have helped me? But there's this other mechanic that I love, which is the random setup. that Terraforming Mars, yet again, has.
Right.
Or
I think
Scythe has.
I think it's good to point out that we're going to probably bring up Terraforming Mars for this a lot.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that Terraforming Mars is a great way to get so many different mechanics of board games, kind of the light version of them.
Yes.
You can get games that are literally built around like one specific mechanic, and it will dive deep into it and it'll be amazing. But Terraforming Mars brings in so many mechanics, and it does such a good job of still making the game playable and enjoyable. And I do think even people that might not be like super into it, like we've even pulled Adrian in every now and then and been like, hey, we just need a fourth, can you play? And like, even if she's not paying full attention, she still can kind of understand what's going on and play it and like enjoy it. It might not be her go-to kind of game, but at the same time, like the fact that it does such a good job of teaching you all these different mechanics, I think it's really good to just kind of bring in a random person that's sitting at your house and be like, hey, I know you're not super into board games. I promise you, if you just read these cards, it'll kind of make sense and you can do something. Like, you'll feel like you're doing something. And whether or not you might be like pushing for the lead or not, you're still impacting that board so much, because the thing about Terraforming Mars is like everything also has limited resources.
Yes.
Like, there's a time when you can't increase gravity or increase oxygen anymore, and you can't increase, the temperature and other things like that. And yeah, so like we're gonna bring up Terraforming Mars a lot, because it does a really good job of these, but also like there are other games that kind of specialize in it.
Yes.
So
yes, but it's a good one, like you say, because of the breadth of all the different things it brings to the genre, and it's part of the reason that when I was taking my friends through the progression of, okay, you play Catan, cool, here's a deck builder. How do you handle this strategy and managing your resources in that regard? Okay, you do pretty well at it. Cool, let me introduce you to a slightly more complicated one. And Terraforming Mars is definitely one of those that it is much, much easier to, one, not learn on the fly, but be able to teach people how to play on the fly. Because if you can get someone interested in a game in just a minute's kind of sales pitch, for lack of a better term, you're going to have them hooked enough to be able to go, oh, that sounds kind of cool. How do we play?
Right.
And I actually saw a video a couple years ago that talked about the best way to introduce a game to someone is give them that 2-sentence sales pitch of, here's the purpose, here's what we're doing, and here's the end objective. If you can give that to them in a 2-sentence span, Terraforming Mars, for example, we are each different mega corporations setting out on a mission to quite literally terraform Mars, or transform the planet's surface to make it habitable for humans by utilizing resources and trying to generate other resources to increase the oxygen, the temperature, and the amount of water on the surface of Mars. Okay, that actually sounds kind of cool when it said something like that. Then you go into, how do I play it? You do this by taking turns of limited actions that you can use. I'll explain those as we go, but basically it's either you can play cards or spend resources you have to turn in other things. What these things equate to is this, and then how you win is the more points here, these things equate to this. And it does get a little more complex as you go, but if you can start with that sales pitch and kind of get people hooked, they're like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And keeping that in their mind, I'm changing the surface of Mars. That helps them to drive their decisions through the rest of the game. And being able to explain things on the fly and understanding that the first time someone plays a game, they're going to have a lot of questions. And I like to remind my friends anytime they're playing a game and they don't know what's going on, I'm going to be as fair and impartial as I can.
Oh, 100%.
Because I would much rather you and I have a good time playing this game than me creaming you and shoving your face in it because I've played this game 100 times.
Yeah, there's no enjoyment in that for you. Or,
No.
Well, there shouldn't be enjoyment in that for you, but I know a lot of people find enjoyment in that.
Some
and
do.
There's no enjoyment in that for the person that's trying to learn.
No, because then they're not going to want to play games with you.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll never want to play games again, and that's just a disservice to them.
Right. Like you kind of mentioned, like I think the worst way you can try and teach people a board game is to crack open the rule book and just start reading everything out loud.
Unless you're the kind of guy who likes sitting down and reading.
Well, right, but I'm saying like reading it to a table of people
exactly.
and expecting
Yep.
them to understand what all you just read after getting through 23 pages of whatever.
And 23 pages is a pretty light game sometimes.
Yeah. So it's like it helps to, like I kind of mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people that do videos now that give you a breakdown. So like if
Yep.
you are the one that's leading and you haven't played it before, maybe watch 1 or 2 videos before.
Right.
And then when people come, you can actually read the rules, and then as like some of the key things pop up, you can mention those to people.
Yes.
And then you can say, as we go, feel free to ask for the rule book. Feel free to ask like
Absolutely.
if we're playing this correctly or things like that.
Absolutely.
I think 100% it is it'll really turn people off to board games if you just try and start reading the rule books out loud. And
Well, you say that, but I've got a funny situation for you. My buddy John and I, similar to you and I, really big into playing different types of board games. Strategy games are kind of our favorites. His wife Sam likes to play these games with us too. John and I found the perfect way for us to introduce a new game to Sam. And that's open the game, give Sam the rule book. She's a speed reader, so no matter how many pages it is, she's going to crack through it and read through the whole thing while John and I are still looking at the first minifig and talking, wow, look at the detail on this demon guy. He's so cool. And she's like, I read the rule book. Can y'all finish setting up the game, please?
Yeah.
So we'll unpack the whole game and try and sort things out best we can. She'll come back, maybe not understand everything, but because she's read through the rule book, she at least has the words in her mind. Because what we found is he and I'll sit there, we'll read the rule book while we're setting up the whole game, we'll talk about it, we'll kind of practice and theory craft while playing a little bit and be like, all right, Sam, it's been 2 hours later, you ready to play? And she's like, you guys took this long to figure out how to play this game and you're going to teach me in 5 minutes? We're like, yeah! And then 10 minutes into the game, she says, this is stupid, I don't understand what we're doing, and gets frustrated.
Yeah.
Fair.
It happens. Hey, the first time we were coming over to play Scythe at your house, I remember Adrian was going to come with us, and we pulled up a video of how to play it. And first of all, it's a bad sign whenever a video is already 30 minutes of how to play. Most of the time, it's like 5 to 10.
Oof.
Now,
Oof.
we make it 15 minutes in. She leans over to me, and she goes, you can turn this off now. That being said, once you play Scythe once or twice, it is very straightforward, very intuitive, a fun game. But my gosh, is the rulebook and the setup and everything intimidating for it. Like,
there's a lot.
I'm not going to lie to you. There are board games that are extremely intimidating to start. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, I don't even want to get past that to find out if it's good.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you're not like that. But at the same time, like, whenever you either have a friend that does know it, so like we came to your house, I kind of knew it, but then you helped explain it a little bit more. And like, I think everyone should have like one of those games personally that it's like, this might be a little more intense, but I can help you walk through it. I can help you teach it. And once we do, like, it's going to be a blast.
Yes, absolutely. And I 100% agree to that. And even if it's not just the one game, you know, you and I are each going to have that one game. Scythe is probably mine. Ankh is another one that I really like that uses mechanics of chess in the way that it's played. And it has its own strategies and it has its own randomness to it and different things like that. But those are the kinds of games that I love, that I'm always going to love, that everyone else who really, really loves board games may not always like, may want to play from time to time. But as long as I know the rules and I'm willing to keep reiterating them to the people who don't play it often, great. That's fine with me. I'll play more of the same games over and over, or we'll go to your place and you'll have Root or you'll have Clank or
we're
whatever.
We're going to play Clank.
Right.
Like, I will play Clank 100 times in a row.
And if I have to ask you, wait, now hang on a second, how does this work again? You're not going to get upset because it's one of your favorites and you're ready to talk about it. Yeah. Which is something so beautiful about the board game fandom, is people who genuinely love board games for what they bring to the table, pun intended, they have a joy in just being able to share their game. You know, we're at the board game cafe and we're learning a game that takes 30 minutes to set up. The joy in his face, it was Matt, right? Yep. The joy in Matt's face of sharing this game with fellow gamers was worth it just for us to have to sit and listen and learn how to play before actually playing.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we ever played it, I think he helped us set it up, and it still took us like 3 hours to play it the first time.
Yeah.
They closed, and we were like, we will pick it up, like, we are going to leave. And he's like, no, please. He was like, literally just watching people play my favorite game is bringing me so much joy. Like, because obviously he can't sit down and play it. He's running the cafe.
Poor guy.
But, like, we offered multiple times, like, even before they were closing, we're like, we'll pick it up. Like, this was a great game. Thanks for letting us play it. Sorry it took so long. And he's like, no, for real, please stay and finish this. I want to just watch y'all play it. Like, I love this game so much. And that is a joy of, like, board games. It is just so much fun to watch people, like, come together and play them and like enjoy them and like find new mechanics, find new things that they love and stuff like that.
So we've talked a lot about what makes good board games. What's something someone getting into this fandom should watch out for or maybe even avoid, and or what makes it a bad board game? Because there are bad board games out there.
Oh, for sure.
And I have the one I'm going to talk about, but I want to ask your opinion first.
I don't know if I can think of a specific bad board game right now. I can think of, and see, this also goes back to what we were saying earlier, is that like everybody is going to love different mechanics.
Yes.
There are people that are going to love things.
Yeah. Every time. There's going to be something different for someone.
I can't think of one specifically right now, but any form of agility or dexterity game,
Ooh.
just let me go home. Just please don't. It is not a fun mechanic.
Yeah,
to
hang on a
me.
second. What's the one that's in? It's in Game Goblins, and they never take it down because it's always just such a crowd pleaser to have it out. The one with the little bars.
Is it the one that kind of looks like Tinker Toys?
Yeah,
I don't know
kind of.
the name of it.
And
but
it's like one hook, and you've got to like balance everything off of it.
I don't mind like Jenga and like that style of game. It is like Marvin has a game that he brings over. Well, we've played it a few times called like Jungle Speed, which is where you're flipping cards, and then when you see a certain color, everyone has to grab for something. And I'm like, I just don't find that enjoyable. And if you
so no spoons for you.
Now Spoons is different. I played a lot of Spoons, but like ERS, we played that a lot. I did not like that card game. I learned how to play it in high school. Did not enjoy it. I never enjoyed Speed, things like that.
Speed. I haven't played Speed in a long time.
Like, I know if you ask my wife, she's like, well, it's because you're slow. But like, it is genuinely, I just don't find that enjoyable. I know that there are games out there that like people have pulled out, and I've just been like, I don't want to be doing this. Once again, I can't think of a specific one. The other thing that I will say is that some people will explain games to me. Like, I know there's like the more Euro style of games where they're like, okay, we're going to sit down and for the next 12 hours, we're going to be playing a board game. And the entire time, speaking of Monopoly being from the Great Depression, they're like, it's going to feel like you were in the Great Depression. Like, we're not going to have fun. This isn't enjoyable. You're going to have to read a novel every time you want to take a turn. And like, some people love this. They love a game that is just bland and you have no goal except for to sit at a table for 12 hours, and the last one that's still there at the end seems to win, even though like apparently there was a strategy involved.
And that's how Monopoly games usually get resolved. Someone gets 20 minutes. I'm not playing this anymore. You can have all my
it's
property.
Like someone took all the house rules of Monopoly and turned it into what they now call like Euro style games, and some people just love it. Like, they're like, yeah, it's asymmetric. You're actually not playing against anyone. Everyone sits in their own room. You have your own board. You have no idea what's happening anywhere. And then the first one to solve all these. And it's like, I know that someone loves that.
You need the wood to get the wood.
Yeah. I know that somebody loves that kind of game, but it is just, I love a strategy game, but I also love to know that there's going to be an end to it. Yes. I am a big fan of what the theme of a game is. Like, I like to have a little bit of theme to it. Like, I will very quickly just be like, it's not for me. If the theme is kind of boring, or if like it doesn't pull you in, like it might have a fine mechanic in it, but if I don't want to be playing it, I'm not gonna sit there and play it. That being said, avoid speed games. They're not fun.
Chris doesn't like fine motor skill games. Understood. I'm gonna avoid all of those forever. Mine, if you ask Annie, she says that the reason I don't like the game I don't like is because of one very bad experience I had with it. But it wasn't one very bad experience. It was multiple experiences that kind of built to this one point that finally were the straw that broke the camel's back. It was Catan. And I know I've talked to you about this specifically, and anyone who's listening is going to sit here and go, well, now hang on a second, Andrew. You said Catan's a classic. It is. It's not one that I want to play often, and if it's a game that someone wants to play as a way to learn board games, I'm happy to play it. The issue I have with Catan, and this isn't every single game, the issue I have is, unfortunately, the dice mechanic. Because, for those of you who don't know, there are different resources set up on the board. And if you don't have your structures set up connected to the correct resources, when the dice are rolled, you get no resources. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Andrew, it's just because you planned poorly. Or, oh, you were just unlucky. No. Andrew had his numbers at the highest ranked probabilities, the 6s and 8s of the games. And for 3 full rounds of a 6-player game, which means 18 individual dice rolls, I received 0 resources. Yes, I'm a little bitter. But the fact that that can happen in a game like Catan, it's again the reason I say it walked so others could run.
Yeah.
Because yes, while it was an interesting mechanic, and yes, there are some people who get really, really good and really lucky with how you play and are really strategic in the way that you play. There's always that chance in a game like Catan, you could have turns, multiple turns, where nothing happens for you.
Right. And that is a downfall of dice eventually. Like,
Yes.
dice are fun, but dice can also make a game kind of lame sometimes.
Yes.
I think whenever because you explained that to me before, and when you did, it brings up a game, speaking of games that kind of got me into, like, more games, which also talking to games that I don't play anymore. There was a game called Machi Koro. I don't know if you've ever seen
Not
it.
heard of that one.
So it starts out, you basically have like a lineup of cards, and each of the cards is a different kind of, like, you've got a bakery and a shop and like a garden and a farms and things like that. And on your turn, you get money. You spend the money to buy one. You're basically doing a small little town builder.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I can afford a bakery. I'm going to get a bakery. The bakery says every time someone rolls a 3, get 1 gold. There's cards that are every time someone rolls it, every time you roll it. And, like, it was kind of an introduction to what you were talking about with, like, even Catan, where you're building a town, you're building resources. Your resources are getting you gold. With more gold, you can buy more stuff to get better rolls. We played it all the time. Like, it was very fun, but, like, it's not a game that I'm going to reach for anymore, just because, like, there are other games out there that I've found that are more fun. But it was a game that kind of taught me, like, here's another mechanic. Like, here's kind of what a city builder is and
Yep.
things like that. But like you mentioned, like, that happens in Machi Koro too, where you'll have a whole lineup, and it'll be like, okay, I've got everything from dice, like 1, 2, 3, like 5, 6, 8, and 12. Like, there's no way that, like, these aren't going to get rolled. And then you go through like 3 turns, and maybe one time one of your towns, like, triggered, and you're like, okay, so I've gotten 3 gold. I can't, like, because you have to get 4 main buildings flipped over to win the game, and you're like, well, at this point, I just literally can't do anything.
Right.
So it is a downfall of dice.
Sure.
Like, for sure. And I know that if you look online, people will say that dice rolling is, like, the worst mechanic you can have in a game. I disagree with that. But it definitely is something that can make a game very,
Absolutely.
like, kind of miserable sometimes,
Yes.
where when the dice aren't working in your favor, it doesn't make the game fun. And it's
No.
a good way to make people instantly be like, I don't want to play this ever again.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel that, like, it does do that to you.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason I will give this respect and the kudos to Catan for what it has done for my hobby, for this fandom. I love it for that. But similar to, like, older movies and shows, you know, I know that MASH and Frasier are those sitcoms that people loved in the 70s, 80s, and even older ones like the Brady Bunch in the 70s, and you can go back and back and back. Just because they were good for what they were doesn't mean I have to love them just to enjoy How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
I can enjoy Terraforming Mars, and I could come in off the street and have never played a board game and someone teach me Terraforming Mars and think this is the best thing ever, and then go out and find something newer and better like Arcs or whatever the next game is.
Yeah.
But then learning the past and being able to go, oh, okay, so that's where board games kind of come from. Oh, I see how they've evolved. And I think that's something huge, which does lead to my next question. What do you see next for board games? You know, we've talked about where they are today. We've talked a lot about how there's a plethora of them, all the different mechanics in them. And I do think, you know, my little bit that I'll give here before turning it over to you, we're going to see a lot more unique ways of mixing mechanics. Like Arcs,
Yeah.
You've got the big board strategy. You've got the cards that are your resources, but actually your cards are also going into playing a small side trick-taking game. You have limited movement that your pieces can take based on whatever resources you generate. So it's a little bit of that engine building. It's a little bit of the trick-taking card game. It's a little bit of this. A lot of different little things that makes it a good game. And I think that's kind of where games as a function will go. Some will dive deep into one mechanic or
Right.
another. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any new mechanics, but I think we have a good base level of all current game mechanics. You can change the name of things here and there, but my God, we're playing a game the other day and I was like, oh, that's just like Terraforming Mars. Oh, that's just like this. Oh, that's just like this. And it's an amalgamation of 3 different games, and I understand how to play it because I've known all these other games.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see games going. What do you see as the future of games?
I think I'm with you. It's hard to say what new mechanics and what things will exist, because sometimes people pull things out that I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Or things that I'm like, I would have never thought of that. Like,
Right.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that there will be games in the future that are like that. I think the thing that you really see happening a lot right now with board games, and just if you look at the history of board games, is that every year you have someone that normally is building on an existing mechanic and finding a way to make it interesting, or making it
Yep.
like making it something fresh that you want to play. So you're going to always have, definitely nowadays, you're always going to have like troop placement and movements. You're going to always have like some form of dice rolling game. You're going to always have, these mechanics out there that are going to always exist. You're going to probably have city builders. You're going to have hex placing, like tile city type, build a whole town type games. But then you start getting, and I think looking at trick taking games, which I know is kind of a card game, but like you buy them as board games nowadays. To me, like watching the way that these have evolved over the years, all of it literally comes down to you are trying to take tricks, but how have we made it more interesting? So obviously you start out with like hearts and spades, like the classic play it with a deck of cards. And then over the years, people kind of like play on that a little bit. They make different ways of like doing trick taking. And then you start getting to some of the modern ones where, you'll look and there might be every year like 12 new trick taking games that come out. But that 12, they might all be duds. Or there might be like one a year that's good.
Right.
I know earlier, while back, I mentioned The Crew, which is a cooperative trick taker. So you're like, how are you taking tricks cooperatively? Like the whole goal is that you have the most tricks. Well, in this one, all your teammates have a specific thing that they are trying to get. So you're trying to get the 3 yellow. I have to figure out, how do I play a trick around this to where I make sure that you win this card? I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
I get one way to communicate, and I can only do that once per game. There's another one, like, I know we've played it, which is Cat in the Box.
That was fun.
And I think it is a beautiful game. It makes some people so mad. But it is literally like quantum physics of trick taking. Like every card that you get is a black card. There are 4 of each number. Whenever you play the card, if I put a 2 down, I state out loud, this is the blue 2. So like I get to make the color as I play it. We are placing pieces on a board, and if someone at some point says, oh, I'm all out of reds, even if they have a full hand, they could literally be like, oh, I have no reds left. They have to mark that on their card. As the game starts coming to an end, pretty much you reach a spot, someone gets stuck where it's like, that's interesting that you said you had no reds, because literally the only cards left in the game are reds because everything else that has been played. You've now created a paradox, and due to that, you end the round and you lose it. So it's like, how could I even like sit here and imagine and be like, I think in the future someone's going to make a quantum physics version of a trick taking game. But that being said, like, I think that's something that's so cool about board games right now, is that you have all these base styles that exist, and then people just keep building on it and finding new ways to make it cool.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned, you've got arcs, which you've got unit placement, you've got a little bit of resource generation, you've got captains that do different things in it, but at the same time, the main way to get it is by playing a trick taking game. Like, so now you've taken trick taking games, but you've also moved them into, this is how I generate my resources. And so it's like, you have to kind of know like a little bit of skills of each of these games, but that also makes it cool because someone might be better at one mechanic than another, so then they get that ability to do it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think like we're going to keep seeing that happening in the future. I don't even think I can begin to guess on like kind of new mechanics that exist. I just want to see people keep building on some of the like classics, building on like ways of merging them, like you said, finding new ways to add them together.
Oh yeah.
Keep building deck builders, please. Anyone that is out there that is doing board games, please keep making more deck builders.
What Chris really needs is a deck builder that's centered around trick taking and dice rolling.
That sounds amazing, actually. Yes. And then if I could have like a little unit to move around for fun.
Perfect.
That being said, I will tell you something that I want to see in the future, and this is something that we haven't really talked about too much, but I'm curious what your take is on it. I want to see more boards brought back to board games. And I say that because think about how many board games have come out recently that are mostly just playing with the deck of cards of some sort. When it comes down to it, games we've mentioned, Munchkin.
Yep. It's just
Crew.
a very basic board.
Munchkin didn't even have a board when you first started. You just kept indicators of like what level you were on, I feel like.
Did you?
I think the board came later on with like a collector version or something.
Interesting, because I've only ever known it to have. Now, wait,
The
hang
one
on,
with the
that's
like
true.
10.
That's true. There's the collector's edition of Munchkin that has the board 1 to 10 on a pretty big board. I have a specialty board that's got it's a narrow 1 to 10 on one side, flip it over 11 to 20 for a special game variance. But most of the games don't actually have
it's just a
any
deck
kind
of
of a
cards.
board.
And
you're right.
That being said, some of the greatest games of all time that are like great to just pull out and play, like I think of it as Loot Letter because I had a Munchkin version of this game, but there's a game called Love Letter, and it just comes in a bag, and it's like played with, I don't know, like 20 cards or something, and you just deal them out to friends. Like, they are so good for just like bringing to a bar, playing with friends, hanging out, like casually dealing out cards. I am not hating on like cards at all because some of the best games that I've played are card games.
Yeah.
That being said, I love interacting with the board.
Yes.
I love to bring like the board back and have something to do with it. Like, I know I've kind of mentioned a few times that Clank is one of my favorite, and that is because we played a Clank Legacy game, and I actually never played Clank before. Clank Legacy is right where we started. But even though it's a deck builder, one of the mechanics is movement. Like, your goal is that you're a bunch of thieves that are trying to break into a king's castle and steal treasure from the castle and get back.
Right.
So, like, your positives are you can move, and then you can get money to buy stuff to make you better. And then your negatives in that game are called Clank, which is where you have to put a Clank in a square. Whenever you trigger a dragon attack, which you're trying to avoid getting eaten by the dragon, all your squares get put in a bag. You pull a certain number of cubes out, and however much Clank you've made, like, the bigger chance that your cube's going to get pulled. Like, I love the fact that I am not only getting to move around a board, but I'm also like, I get to play the cards, but I also get to interact with something. Yep. I do miss like having more games like interaction. That's why, for sure, like whenever we sit down to play board game like nights, whenever it's like, you know, definitely like more strategy based games, it's always like going to be a board game that's got a board, got some movement going on, got something like,
look at Root.
Something to do, right?
Root is this great game. Like you said, it's very asymmetrical in the way that the gameplay works. Not that there's something off geometrically about it. Just making sure someone understands that. But it has a board that we interact with as we move through it, you know, or Risk has a big board that you've got to move your troops through. Now, Roots has all sorts of different mechanics going on with it, but the board is a big part of how you play because you're like, okay, the resource I need is on the other side of the board. It's going to take me probably 2 to 3, if not 4 turns to get over there. That's not going to work. Let me come up with a new strategy. And it's not just I need to find the right resource. It's I have to get to it, which is just one of the aspects of the game.
Right, because it's like if you just need the resource and it's like, okay, so, you know, flipping my cards or whatever, I need a wood. Okay, here's 2 cards, I get 2 wood. Okay, like, that's fine.
Right.
But it's way more fun to be like, if I can get over there, if I can move physically a character over here, that it just, I don't know, it brings more enjoyment to me. Like, I do like that physical, like, moving of pieces and watching a game, like,
Chris,
kind of unfold.
let me offer a proposition to you here. Listen, my character can go over there and get that for you, and I can bring it back to you. It'll be a real quick. We're just going to have to make a little trade, nothing big. But if I do this for you, I'm going to keep helping you win so that I can win the game, okay? That's my trade. Mm-hmm. You want to take this offer? You get to win, but I actually get to win because you won.
Well, assuming that you're referencing Root, I'm going to have to pass on that because more than likely my rebellion is about to overthrow 3 cities, and then I'm going to win by myself.
Yeah, but
I do appreciate you bringing me that extra wood that I didn't need.
It's all the way over there, and I can get it in a turn and a half. It'll take you 4 turns to get it. I can go get it right now.
I'll maybe share the win. Every now and then I do enjoy a like loop around where you can share the win. Yeah. I know I was telling you about a game called Cosmic Encounters where you kind of have spaceships, but you can be like, I'm going to attack Andrew. But then our friend that's sitting across could be like, you know, I think I'll help you attack Andrew. But then at the same time, like our other friend might be like, you know what, I'm going to protect Andrew. So like you can send your ships in and like you can choose to all fight one person. You can choose to defend, or you can even choose to literally be like, let's win this together.
Yep.
And sometimes like that's such a fun way to end a game is be like, the two of us won together. Let's just
Exactly.
call it on that, you know?
Yes. Now, talking about the future of board games, I do think there's something very relevant in the world that we have to talk about, and that's the way that games are made and what impact current economic climate has on all of that. Because board games, at their core, are kind of cheap. Not necessarily that they are inexpensive,
Right.
but if
It's
you look
made
at what it
with
is,
paper
it's
and
paper, cardboard, maybe some
a
plastic
lot of
parts.
3D printed models now, but
Yes.
yeah, definitely for like prototypes, you've got
Right.
a lot of paper, a lot of cardboard, a lot of like 3D printed
Yes.
models.
And I think that is going to become more expensive than it should be because of the economic climate we are in. And that frightens me, scares me, and makes me sad all at the same time. I do see a small chance of a different way that board game developers could move forward in that you, and this is thinking big brain outside the box. If you're a game developer, I'm a game developer, we are going to have different games. We're going to have different core mechanics, okay? What if there was a way that we could release the game that you could pay a fraction of the price for? Maybe not, instead of $50 for the full printed game, I could pay $20 for it. And the idea is I'm going to get a controlled copy of the cards mailed to me that are just pieces of paper. You know, something simple.
Yeah, I mean, there's been
Simplify it.
playtest games before that you can literally just buy like a PDF and you can print out and like mail the
Right.
cards.
Buy the
It-
PDF, print the cards, and
Yeah.
if it's minifigs, if you want to use whatever figures you have from other games, drop it in. If you'd like to pay for the STL files and you've got a 3D printer or access to one, you go print your own figures and now you have them. Save a little bit of money. They're not going to look pretty, but you could paint them. So now you got a new hobby you got to get into. And I think that that could be a way that game developers could work towards trying to find loopholes in the expenses that are the tariffs on the world. I don't want them to.
Yeah, I think it could be a loophole, but I genuinely believe that with the tariffs and the way that like things are going with the economy right now, that it is going to hold back the innovation of board games for a long time. Like
Yes.
this is going to push back probably by like a decade of innovation, because even if you have that loophole where you're like, okay, so they can print out the PDF, they can do all this testing. So then what happens whenever everyone says this is the game I want, make it? Because then getting all those, like, even on a small scale, like going back all the way to the beginning when I mentioned that I was playing Magic the Gathering, like whenever you can get like proxies for cards, literally the site that I used to get proxies from, now if you buy it, it's like, oh, this is $60 for 100 cards, but it's already like $10 shipping because it's coming from overseas. And then on top of that, they now charge a tariff fee, even to me, like just buying it. So like for me, I had to spend an extra $15 on top of everything for that. So imagine instead of 200, you're trying to buy 200,000 cards.
Yeah.
And like that is a crazy cost to games. And you already see a bunch of like smaller kind of indie companies talking about how they've had to, you know, pivot what their ideas for how they're going to release new games, or even have to release like staff and stuff because they just are realizing that you can't get some of these pieces and some of the stuff made. Like there are workarounds, I think, for like playtesting and stuff like that. But at the same time, like how are you going to release the full game to people at a cost that is efficient enough that people want to buy it? Like board games are already pretty expensive. Like it's normally worth it, but you do take a risk when you buy a board game, because some games you might look at and be like, that's going to be so much fun, and then you spend $100 on it and you get it home and you go, oh, this isn't what I wanted.
Right. Now, for someone listening who hears $100 and goes, oh my God, that's too expensive for a board game. Yes, it does feel that way, but let me challenge you with the way that I break down costs on things like this. Going to see a movie is a 2-hour experience on average. And even if you're going on a cheap-ish night, you're going to spend $5, $7, we'll call it $10 by the time you buy a soda. $10 for 2 hours of enjoyment. Okay, that's not bad. That's $5 an hour. That's really not bad. And that's just for you. Now, if you've got someone else going with you, you're spending $20 for still 2 hours of entertainment. So now it's $10 an hour. That's really not that bad. It seems like a lot, but that's not bad.
Spend a little more if it's prime time on a Saturday, which is when we play a lot of games.
Right.
So
So, you know, if you're going prime time on a Saturday, prices go up. But you buy a board game that's $100. Okay, well, you as the person who bought it are going to find the hour of learning how to play the game enjoyable. You're going to find the hour of learning how to set up the game and play testing it enjoyable. There's 2 hours. Then you're going to have the 30 minutes of explaining the game to the guys who actually understand how to play these games with you. The 4 hours of playing the game the first time. The 3 hours of playing it the second time. 2 hours of playing it the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 10th.
The joys of planning all night.
Right.
Game sessions where you're going to play it twice in a row because you introduce it to someone new and they go, oh my gosh, I think I better understand it. Can we play that again right now?
So if you take your $100 game and you divide it by the 5 playthroughs, we'll say that you're going to get in the first month. All right. That's now $20 through 5 playthroughs. But if there's 4 of you playing that one game, you're still looking at $5 an hour. Or $5. Well, yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does seem expensive, but it comes out making sense.
Right.
And I agree that's going to be a big challenge for the future of games. I do hope that we get a lot more quality board games instead of quantity out of this. Not to say this is a good thing, but I think there could be a silver lining here in that we have been flooded with board games.
Oh, for sure. Like I mentioned, like every year there's normally like 10 to 15 new trick-taking games.
Right.
And 1 or 2 of them has something unique that makes it fun.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that like the people that made a bad one deserve to not make games again.
No.
So this one flopped. Okay, like try again. If you have an idea, go for it.
Yes.
But like you said, like there is going to have to be a lot more focus on the quality of the game. What makes this one different? Why should people want to buy this?
Right. And I think if you can digitize it and make it to where people could play it digitally first, not just that I could digitize it, print it, and play test it, and build up the fan base that way or kickstart it or whatever, make it to where I can actually play the game in a digital format. That's a way to be able to pump out a lot more games. Start getting a lot more digital format, because that's something that Annie and I do a lot of, is playing big board games that are $60 brand new. Okay, well, we can get digital copies of the games for $5-10 each on Steam when they're on sale. And now we've spent $10-20 on a board game that's normally $60. We can turn it on and be playing in 5 minutes compared to the hour of setup.
Right.
And then the hour of teardown. And we could play 2 or 3 sessions of the game in that shorter time. And it's just the same game, if not a little bit better, because there's now these cutesy graphics that get attached to it. And I think that could be a different way that some board game makers shift, is start having more digitized versions of their game, or games, or whatever else they're putting out, in something like Tabletop Simulator, or just their own, here you go, here's our game, pay us $50 for it, and here's these fun graphics for this strategy board game that you get to play.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid for the physical content and what that's going to do to the market. I have hope it's going to help some aspects, but like you said, these more indie and smaller companies are going to suffer. And that's going to be the really unfortunate part, because those are the people who truly love board games and want to keep cranking out new board games because that's what they enjoy doing.
Right. And they're going to pull out some fascinating things that you would have never thought of.
Like trick-taking and spaceships. After the guys who put freaking woodland creatures in a forest and made them fight.
Yeah.
They went to trick-taking and spaceships.
I mean, going back to what I keep saying, a couple years ago, and it's been like, it's not even a super complex game or anything, and I wouldn't say it's like the best version of the game I've ever played, but like I bought a deck builder that was both a combination of deck builder and battle bots. So everyone gets a little robot. You're in a like 12 by 12 or a 6 by 6 grid, and you move your robot around the arena. You're shooting out grappling hooks. You're activating saw blades. You're activating fire traps. That's what you're doing with your deck of cards. Like, you're taking these 2 mechanics, you're pushing them together and making it so exciting, because it's like, yeah, I'm making my robot stronger, but I'm also physically moving it. Like, I am slamming my robot into this other person's robot to push them into this pit, which kills their robot. Like, it's just like, you need people out there just thinking of ways to combine these mechanics and combine games to make them more fun. And like, that's a game that I pull out when, like, it doesn't matter who's over, it's pretty easy to teach. And I'm like, did you watch BattleBots? And they're like, well, yeah, of course I did. I'm like, cool, let's play it. You know?
Exactly.
And
so,
like,
Chris, we've talked a lot here. We've mentioned a plethora of great games. what are you recommending to someone today at any skill level? Or let's break this down. What's the game that you're going to teach someone who wants to learn more about board games but doesn't know much today? Let's start with that.
That's Ticket to Ride.
That's Ticket to Ride.
I think it's going to still be Ticket to Ride for me.
What's the next game you're going to teach them after Ticket to Ride and they've kind of mastered those base mechanics?
I think a little of it depends on kind of maybe like what I know of them as a person a little bit, but also like what they seem to enjoy about it.
Yep.
Because there are some people that like, you know, I might be like, oh, you want to lead more to the card stuff. You want to do more cooperative games. Like cooperative games, some people love them, some people hate them. Like,
yeah.
So I would say like my next is going to be, if you want like a fun game to play around with like friends, it's going to be Crew, which I know I've kind of already mentioned a few times, but it's a fun way to kind of learn cooperative play, but not like super in depth. If I'm playing with more of like a strategy based friend, my go-to is going to be it's going to probably be Clank. It's going to be that or Terraforming Mars. Like that's the two games that I'm going to pull out.
Yeah.
To teach like a friend that I know that like they like strategy games. They like, you know, a little bit thinking a little bit more like a more in-depth game, like something that is more, I guess, like mathematical base. That's what I'm going to pull out. Like those two games are just so much fun to me. That being said, if I am ever somewhere and anyone is like, do you want to play Bananagrams? Absolutely. I will pull up. Like, Bananagrams will be a go-to for me. Scatagories,
Yep.
Speaking of original games, give me a letter and make me write out 7 categories of
That's
what...
one of Annie's favorite party games.
I love it. Like,
it.
I genuinely think it's fun. I know I kind of mentioned, like, one of my wife's favorite games is Coup, and it's... You're doing a little bit of betting, a little bit of bluffing. Like, social deduction games aren't necessarily my favorite, but I do enjoy playing them off and on. And I do enjoy games like Coup and other stuff where, like, it's a little bit of, like, bluffing, but I also do enjoy every now and then being the guy at the table that's like, let's see what happens. Like, I'm going to be the one that's like, I'm going to lie and see if I can get through with it. Or I'm going to bluff, or I'm going to, like, tell you the truth, but it's going to sound so out of, like, possibilities that you're not going to believe it. I'm going to call you out on your lie and hope that I'm right, you know?
Hey, that's okay. For me, as much as we've talked about Ticket to Ride, I think the new basic game I'm going to start teaching people is Flamecraft. And I know that's not one we've talked about. I think that'd be a good one to have you and Adrian over to play sometime. It's this really cute resource collection game where it's a bunch of dragons setting up different shops and running different shops of bread markets, of a plant store, of all these different things. But because there's that little bit of a strategy in how am I going to gain as many points as possible and utilize what minimal resources I have access to, it's a pretty simple game for what it is, but it's a really good kind of introductory game, and it has these cutesy creatures that, oh my gosh, they're so cute. Oh, look at the little guy. He's so much fun.
I've picked up that board game multiple times at board game stores and been like, what is this? Because I do like the...
It's fun.
I like the artwork on it. I like the theme of it. I like all that.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because it's like you asked me that now, and probably 5 years ago, if even that, like my answers would have been so different.
Yeah. It changes all the time.
5 years ago would have been when I was probably still recommending people. Probably a little longer than 5 years. But I think of a time when I would have recommended Machi Koro. Mm-hmm. Because at the time I was like, this is fun. Like, you're building towns, you're doing things like this. Betrayal at House on the Hill.
That's the one I was just thinking.
So much fun. Like, it's so cool because it's like you're in a randomly generated house.
Yep.
If you want to get wacky with it, like when you read the stories, you can like change your voice and be like, there's a ghost in the, you know, whatever. It's a fun way to like, it's a game, but it doesn't feel like you're really competing against each other. You're all playing together for the first like part of the game. And then at some point, like something happens, one person fights everyone else. But even then, like, it doesn't really matter who wins or loses that game. It's so much fun to just explore the house, see what room you're going to flip next, and do things like that.
Right.
Let's see, what were other ones? Like, there was a time when I would have recommended Pandemic to people, a cooperative game. That being said, after I played the legacy version of Pandemic, I know people love it. I never want to play it again.
Yeah.
The legacy version of Pandemic really ruined it for me. I will not recommend that game to anyone ever again.
I think
See, you opened your board game closet and seeing Labyrinth down there. Labyrinth is an older game than I think like people even realize, and Labyrinth is fun. You're
Yeah.
just pushing tiles, moving people with it. You push a column or a row.
but there's a little bit of strategy, and it's
Yeah.
just interesting enough. But I think the ones I would graduate people to, you said Terraforming Mars, so I feel like I got to say something different. I would honestly push them to Scythe next.
Yeah.
If they like that, and kind of like what you said, and that's even the same. I'm starting to realize the more I have these conversations with people about different fandoms. When I had Marvin on, we talked about Doctor Who, and one of the things we said is go watch the episode Blink, come back to me, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like.
Yeah.
Tell me what things you have interest in, tell me what things you want to see more of. I'll point you in the right direction of which way to go for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Same with this, come to me with Flamecraft and look at this randomness and look at this resource generation. Tell me, did you like this? Did you like that? You didn't like this? You didn't like that? And depending on if you picked up on the right things and you wanted something a little bit more complicated, I'll work with you and I'll teach you Scythe.
Yeah.
Because it is complex and it is weird, but it's like most games. Once you get going, it makes sense. It clicks. It just flows. It's really not that difficult if you can understand the core mechanics and have the patience to learn it and want to learn it.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
It's just so rewarding to get into it because it's one of those that, based on the randomness of the game, even once you know the mechanics, not every round is going to play out the same. Maybe I'm going to fight as many people as possible in one game because that just works for how I'm set up. Maybe no one fights in a whole game because it just doesn't make sense to anyone. Maybe the guy who didn't have a single fight's the one who wins, while the one who thought he was fighting looked like he was winning the whole time and then ends up losing. It's just, there's so many different factors that go into it. And yeah, it's a lot to try and keep up with all at once, but as you start to understand how it works, it just starts to make sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be one that I'll recommend. If anyone's crazy and wants to play a very insane version of chess, hit me up. Let's play Ankh. It's Egyptian gods. It's fantastic.
Or if you want to play a very fun, very quick to learn version of chess, like a new style of it, play Hive.
Hive. Yep.
Speaking of pieces that do unique things,
Yep.
but you're all building around like the same, like you start with one tile in the middle and you can only place on that tile and like different pieces do stuff. Hive is a great new like 2-player, like head-to-head strategy style game. It's a blast.
Yeah.
Really, it's just, I don't know, it's just
There's
enjoyable.
a lot to it. There's so much to it. Any last thoughts you want to leave our listeners with? We've obviously mentioned more than enough games to fill your library for a year. And go out to your local game store, see if they'll let you test try some of these games. I know our local game store will let you do that. Go and see if you have a game cafe. We've got one here. I've been to one in Fort Worth, Texas. That was really nice. Same kind of concept. You pay a flat fee, get to play their games, get to eat some food. It's a really good concept. I hope to see more and more of those in the world as board games get more popular. But any last thoughts or ideas, comments, suggestions you want to leave people with?
I mean, I think you took one of mine right there is like, even if you were kind of too scared to go out and like buy a new game or something, like go to a local store, go to a local game store, buy a game from them, even just play a game in their back room. Most of them will have like bookshelves of games that you can just go and play. Or get a membership, or even just go to like a board game cafe and just be around other people that either know how to play it, that might be able to teach you, or just sit down for a while and like try a new game, try something fun.
Yeah.
I think that is a big part of it, is like board gaming can build a really big community if like you let it. Like if you know the kind of games that you enjoy, and then with that you go into a board game cafe knowing that, okay, I like playing social deduction games. Let's find out. Like sometimes our board game cafe hosts certain nights of certain games.
Mm-hmm.
They will do a Blood on the Clock Tower night. So you enjoy playing the social deduction game. You go to that, there's going to be like 12 other people playing that game that probably are kind of similar to you because they also enjoy that same kind of game.
Yes.
Like board games have a very unique way of pulling people together and finding like similarities and things that you really enjoy, but it's not like it's not always about like, oh, it's just like for nerds. There's literally a board game out there for everyone.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you that if you look, you will find some kind of game that you do enjoy. Like it doesn't have to be unit placement. It doesn't have to be social deduction. It doesn't have to be card management. There is something out there that you will enjoy.
Yeah.
If you want to play Bananagrams with your friends, do it. Just
Exactly.
go out, have fun, and like enjoy yourself. Like that is the thing about board games, is that it isn't just how do I play with like this board and win this game. It is more of like, how do I get together with friends and have fun, have an excuse to sit around, try a new bourbon, and just hang out with friends for like 4 hours or however long I want to be with them. And like
3.5 hours max.
Three and a half hours. And you know what? I actually, that was too long.
That was too much. Oh, guys, I lost the game. Sorry, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. I'll clean up. Don't worry about it.
I meant more like we finished the 4-hour game and then go, you guys want to play another one? Because I mean, that happens so often. Like it is such a good excuse to get together with people.
Yes.
And just socialize.
Absolutely.
And get out and do something.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful thing to sit around and enjoy with people who, like you said, enjoy the same types of things. And, you know, maybe I don't like Bananagrams. Okay, there's no maybe to that. I don't like Bananagrams because I don't like spelling. But I'm going to play it from time to time, or I'm going to play Scrabble. I mean, the last time Annie and I went to Caverns and Forest, we played Corridor, which is chess-like. Not quite. It's older, but it's got a little bit of a good strategy to it. And then we played Scrabble. I lost. I went into it knowing I was going to lose, and it wasn't even I was trying to lose. But we had fun because we were just getting to sit there. We were getting out of the house for a little bit. We got to help support Matt and his wife at the board game cafe, and we just had fun hanging out and talking and just playing a game together. And that's really what it boils down to, like you said, is finding something that you can connect with other people on. Well, yeah, you're playing a game. Yeah, you get to be competitive at times. And haha, I won. I got the triple word score. I'm the smartest. Congratulations, you got it. Good job. You know, you got lucky, but you also got it, and you planned well enough.
Yeah.
But that's what it boils down to. You want to go be competitive and play Monopoly? Go be competitive and play Monopoly. You want to be competitive playing Catan? You go do that. I'm going to casually sit on my couch and play board games and watch videos of you playing these games super competitively and go, wow, yeah, I'm never going to do it like that because that just won't work.
Yeah. I mean, just over the years of playing games, like it's not only have I found new friends through it, like I think most of our friend group that we made since moving to Little Rock was through board games and D&D.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of where we got started of finding friends. But on top of that, like going to the board game cafe that we have, I can't tell you how many times we've even been playing games and people will just stop me like, ooh, what are you playing?
Right.
And they'll just like watch for a little while. We played like multiple games where someone would just be like, hey, that's a 5-player game. Do you mind if I tag along? Like, I'm also learning. And we're like, yeah, go for it.
Sure.
Like, sure, we might not become like best friends, but like, I'm going to have a fun night.
Exactly.
We're going to hang out. We're going to have fun together. Like,
yeah.
You know, maybe the next time we're in there, it's like, hey, do you want to play again? And then eventually like a friendship can build, something like that. Like
right.
It genuinely just is a great excuse to go out and like be social and hang out with people.
Even as an antisocial person who likes playing nerdy board games, you can be slightly social with the other antisocial people.
I think it's for the best for everyone that we start hanging out with humans a little bit more, Andrew. And I think board games is a good way to do it.
But I could play my video games instead.
We need to leave our houses.
Don't tell me that. I could just play board games remotely. I could play a digital board game.
No, sorry. We're going to Caverns and Forest. You're going to come play over there.
Okay. Well, Chris, I guess that's all I have time for today. Aww. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me at great length, about everything there is to love about board games. I think we kind of really dived into a little bit of the history, a little bit of what make the older games good, even though some people might not have liked them. There is good that came out of them.
Yeah, it's a real classic rock situation. I understand why it exists, but I don't love it.
You had to have the classic rock so that you can get to where we are today.
Exactly.
Okay? You had to have Monopoly and chess and Go before that so you could get to a point of us being able to play ARCs. And I'm excited to see where board games go, even with the turmoil of our world. And I just hope that anyone listening today takes our recommendations to heart. You go out there, you find a board game that you enjoy, and you find a type of game that you like, and get online and do just a little bit of research and see what other games are like it. And if you're too scared to talk to the people on the internet, reach out to me. Yes, I'm a scary person on the internet, but I can help give you recommendations. And if I can't give you a good one, I'm going to turn to someone like Chris, and we'll find you the perfect game to be able to play with by yourself, because that's something we didn't even talk about. A lot of these modern board games have one-player solo modes, which is fantastic, but we have to save that for another day.
Oh, yeah. We could keep talking for far too long. Like
Chris,
you kind of mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The last thing I want to say is that we have play tested a lot of games.
Yep.
I know we only talked about a few, but like you mentioned, like, we love it. Like, it is genuinely fun.
It's one of my favorite fandoms. Like you said, people say, so what are you into? Board games. I start with games. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, name a type of game. I'm probably going to want to play it. Board, video, doesn't matter. Card, I'll probably play it just because I love games. I love them so much. And to all the nerds out there, thank you again for listening. Leave a comment on what your favorite board game is, or even just a comment on what you want us to talk about next. If you want Chris to come back and have a deep dive conversation with me about solo player video games, let me know. Thank you again to listening to everything we have to say. Have a wonderful day and keep nerding out.